What's up, world, and welcome back to the Global Frequency. I'm your host, Nefarious.
And I'm Frequency Girl.
And today we are joined by Vaughn Coleman, here to tell us all about his comic book, creator-owned comic book crowdfunding campaign, Phenomenova, now in demand on Indiegogo and Fund My Comic. Vaughn, what's up? Good to have you with us.
It's good to be here. It's good to be here.
I have to admit, every time we say the name of your book, in my brain,
Bancroft,
I go,
yeah.
no.
Oh,
I go,
yeah.
You are not the first one to make that joke
Yeah.
this week, even.
Sorry.
It's
the original.
It's good. It's good. Listen, I'm going to get them for the rest of my life, you know? I'll take it.
Yeah, right. It's as long as it differentiates your book from the others, has it stand out, gets people thinking, about the name. Yeah. I always hear phenomenal, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Bancroft way he says it.
Yes.
Oh, does he say it?
Because you actually were on his show, right?
I've been on his show a few times, yeah.
Yeah. For launch on Fund My Comic or for the launch of the Indiegogo?
I didn't go on for either launch. I came on to promote the book, but I didn't launch on the show, no.
Okay. So maybe we can look forward to a Bancroft launch for the next one. Did you launch on Pop XP?
No, I launched on Reenie's channel.
Okay, cool. That's a great host to have by your side, David.
Yeah.
Well, especially because she had just turned in the cover. Well, she gave me feedback on the script. She had just turned in her cover. Like, we scrambled to get it to me because she's a perfectionist, and it shows in her artwork. It's great. It goes, and then we launched the campaign on her channel.
So that would be this cover.
Yes. But at the time,
so
it was
he's
black
like,
and white.
So he's all like Rasengan here. Pardon me, Mo. I shouldn't know that. Mo doesn't like the manga, so he's like moving in on him with like that shock ball. Why don't we take a second to rewind, get to know a little bit about you before we hop into this book, because I want to know all about this character. He's got some really interesting traits, some really cool design elements that I want to ask you all about. But why don't we start off with how old are you, and when do you turn 18?
Good question. So I actually just turned 25 on about a week ago.
Lies.
July.
Yeah. I want to see your ID, young man.
Happy
You
birthday.
want to dox myself?
No. We can blur out the other stuff. Just the age. I want to see the date of birth and the social if you
1999.
Oh.
Oh, no.
That doesn't help. That really doesn't help.
I am decrepit.
Yeah. So, that would be how it. So you wanted to ask me? I'm sorry. After my age. It was where were you born? When were you born? And when you grew up, what kind of comics did you like to read? Yeah. So I was born in London actually, but I only lived there for like 7 months. So came to New Jersey. I'm really a Jersey boy, right? I've been here my whole life.
North or South Jersey?
Oh, is this false? People from outside of New Jersey, or like there's like maybe 1 or 2 people from New Jersey insist that there's like no central Jersey. I'm like, I'm from there. I don't know what you mean. I'm so central.
Fair.
I'm right by the shore.
Central.
Yeah. Born in 1999, and to leave that, he must assume the rest of us were in fact born yesterday. Yeah, okay, whatever you say. He's from Old Jersey. That's fun. That's all the way in what? That's like in Scotland, right? Or is that no? Or is that's in the UK somewhere? Jersey. Where's Jersey? I don't know. Anyway, so I didn't start reading comics until I was in about 6th grade, but I was into like superhero movies. I loved the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. The Justice League animated series was one of my earliest exposures. I loved that. I'd watched some animated series, and then later on, I really dove into it. The X-Men movies, I'd really dive into superhero movies. And I was like aware of the comics and the fact that there was lore that these characters came from, but I never had gotten around to reading it until I was about in 6th grade. I had moved to a new school, and we'd be watching Batman. I swear, it was like the most perfect timing ever. I come back from this first day at this new school. I turn on the TV, and there's this channel called The Hub. And every day they were going to play a new episode of Batman the Animated Series. Now, I didn't know about this because it just so happened to start that day with On Leather Wings, which I didn't even know was the first episode of Batman the Animated Series. And so I'd make it a ritual, basically every day, same time, come home from school, watch an episode of Batman the Animated Series.
It's funny. I had that same experience, but like a decade before you.
When it was actually new and not reruns.
When it was airing on the WB11.
Yeah.
Or on Fox. Which channel was it on? Was it on WB or was it on Fox? Can't remember now.
I think it was.
I thought it was WB. Yeah, they had like the whole big after school programming kind of thing. But anyway, you were saying?
Yeah. So then what happened was Arkham City comes out around that time too. It was 2011, and I decide, you know what? It's about time. I'm now super into Batman. I've got it all. I've seen all the movies. Let's dive into those comics I've been hearing so much about all my life. You know, I liked the Lego sets. I liked all kinds of stuff. And so finally, I decided to look up best Batman stories. And Batman Hush came across my radar. And so I got that for that Christmas. And I was just in love with this book. I plowed through it. And from there, it kept going. I would go through The Long Halloween. I went and, I would read Batman Year One, and there was just so many comics. And then, but I don't think I mostly was a DC guy to start, but I just kind of would read trades, comic books. There was some New 52 stuff I would pick up, but I wasn't really a monthly guy, because New 52 was like a weird time for comics. It was like supposedly for us newcomers, but I thought a lot of the decisions they made were kind of I don't know, like weird. It was like they were doing a lot of strange character decisions that just felt like they were kind of antithetical to the characters. And so I was kind of turned off by that. But apparently I did miss out on some good stuff. I did read some good stuff, the New 52. But then it wasn't until I was really in college when this idea for a superhero movie that I had ever since I was a kid, which would have become this, really took center stage again. And that was when I was reading, I started, for some reason, felt this itch to read X-Men. So I read Giant Size X-Men #1. And then, because I was recommended that into Claremont's run. And that run, reading issue to issue, idea after idea after idea, new story after new story, and seeing the way the characters would evolve, really made me go, I want to do this. I want to write comics like that, because I was always like, had to restrict my big budget ideas as a film student, right? Like, oh, you have all these action ideas? Okay, maybe get 50 studio approvals. You'll get a lot of studio interference, even if it does get made. You won't own the idea. And it was a lot of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against the idea of making movies. But man, did the idea of making comic books become very appealing. And I was like, I'm young. I want all these ideas. I want to get out there. Let's go for it, man. And I decided to go for it 100%.
Right on. So, that's a pretty long-winded explanation. I appreciate it. It was very thorough. You really like the pop culture, film, and television side of comics, then. I mean, that being your introduction and everything. What did you think about Wolverine and Deadpool?
You know what's funny is, like, now I'm almost like the opposite, like elitist, and now I'm like, movies, I don't care about that. Now I'm a comic book guy first, but like, I did like the new movie. I do wonder if it's going to age well. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of jokes that I'm like, okay, when I'm telling my kids about this and they're watching it later, are they going to get that? Or I'm going to have to explain, oh, Henry Cavill was going to be Superman at the time. It was a topical joke. It was, so stuff like that, I don't know.
I think it was the whole point of the movie, though. Like, the movie was extremely timely, and it's going to work for this one snapshot in time. Much like a lot of the early Marvel comics worked for that time period and didn't really stay evergreen. Then again, I don't know if any of the Deadpool movies are really evergreen. I mean, I didn't like 2 very much. I thought this one was decent for what it was attempting to do. But yeah, I can see that that interpretation. I agree with you. A lot of the jokes were topical. A lot of the humor was very much pointed in one direction at one thing, kind of inside baseball, right? And if you didn't know the comic jokes that were in there, maybe it was a little bit lost on you. But they did inject like, you know, a bunch of slapstick comedy and other stuff to keep the audience laughing and entertained.
That was one thing, but overall, I did like the movie. I did.
You did?
I did.
Huh.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking of the criticism going into me saying, you know, I do like it. I thought it was, I enjoyed it. I think it had a lot of fun. Gambit was a treat. There was a lot of stuff that was a treat in that movie, and I really
I liked having some of the old characters back. I thought actually that was a really clever way of addressing all of the stuff that the studios, like you said earlier when you were talking about studio interference, that was a really clever way of addressing, like literally the plot of the film is addressing all of the nonsense that the studios have put us, the comic book fans, through in their attempts to make cinematic universes out of the comic books. And I thought that meta commentary was like, I don't know, I felt vindicated in a way. I was sitting there being like, you tell him, Blade. You tell him there'll never be another Blade but Wesley Snipes. You're right. You know, like, I appreciated that. I thought that was very refreshing. But anyway, we'll get back on topic here. So you said you had an idea for a comic book when you were, really wrapped up in the films. And originally, Phenomenova may have been conceived of as a film or as a work of cinema, be it television or movie. Tell me about making the transition to comics. I know you start reading comics, you realize that there's a lot of similarities between the two mediums, but having something go from film to comic book is a interesting process. And speaking as someone who's done it themselves, I want to hear your take on it.
About doing comic books?
Yeah, taking Phenomenova, which I think you alluded to earlier was originally conceived of as a movie, right? Yeah. And taking that movie idea and turning it into not just storyboards, but sequential art and layouts and pictures and the process of making a movie into a comic. Because it's one thing to take a comic and make it a movie. Going the other way is a lot different.
You know, it's interesting. So I never got that far into the full... Well, okay, so I did a screenplay versions of when I decided at one point I was going to do it as an animated series. How's it going, all this... and I decided, you know, at one point, let's pivot it to comic books. So I decided to translate that exact story, and I realized it wasn't going to work. But I also, to be fair, it was a really interesting time because I was not just transitioning from screenwriting to comic book writing, but I was also learning writing. I was transforming myself from an amateur to a professional, right? And I made probably every beginner mistake you could make in that zone. And, you know, I'd have 10-minute scenes of them in a classroom talking because I was having too much fun with the dialogue. And I was like, this isn't progressing the plot. Where is this going? And needless to say, there were a lot of changes, including name changes. And what happened was, I remember there was this one scene that kind of really changed my mind when I'm translating that early script into a comic book page. And it was... And so in a screenplay, it's very strict, and in a comic book, it's not, which is really interesting. Right. And in the screenplay, I had a scene where someone puts something in a box and puts it under the desk, and I remember as I was writing it out, I was like, "How do I paste that in panels? Do I just open one, lift, put this there?" And I'm like, "That's a lot of." And it kind of made me realize you have to think about the moments and you have to decide, is this an important moment? And I was like, no, it's not. So how do I...
So what did you read or study to gain the awareness of needing to transmute that visually from celluloid, cinema, motion, right? Time into space, distance, the page, right? Was there anything that you read or studied that helped you make that transition that you were talking about?
A few things. One of the things is, so I was at film school and they didn't really teach that. A lot of it had to be taught, but so I did. So I started my career, you know, I adapted my comic book format from reading the last issue, because most of it was like penciled, or at least penciled, if not penciled and colored, this book Hunter Ninja Bear, and I took a Chuck Dixon script that I was an editor for, and
that was it. With the light boxes,
yes,
it was Hunter Ninja Bear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, we were having a conversation.
So you've seen his booth, right? At conventions, have you seen the booth for Hunter Ninja Bear?
Yeah. No, actually,
okay.
Well, not in person. I've seen pictures of it, but I've never been.
So we went in person. It was the same year that we met the creator of Bigfoot Knows Karate.
It was at Baltimore.
It was Baltimore last year. And I couldn't remember the name of the book tied to the booth that I saw that had the tall light boxes with
he came back. He's like, we have to do that.
Yeah,
we need that.
But
Go get them.
It's like it's not Bigfoot Knows Karate. It's not Shinobi Sasquatch, obviously, but it's like there's a guy and he's a fuzzy.
There's
I can't remember.
Like there's martial arts.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not Hunter Ninja Bear. If it's a bear that knows martial arts, it is not Hunter.
No, it's not.
He was talking about the title.
I couldn't remember the name of the
title. Like a fuzzy animal and martial arts, because like ninja. But
Hunter Ninja
he
Bear.
Remember
Ninja Bear. Right.
It was just the word.
But it was like, I couldn't remember that for the longest time, and suddenly you said that. I was like, yep, that was it. That was the one.
But no, so I that was how I first learned about comic book format and how to write it like that.
Chuck Dixon script, you said.
Yeah, but if we're talking, you said books that inspired me, like understanding comics by Scott McCloud definitely helped. And then honestly, general writing advice, you just have to practice and seeing the words come to life on the page makes you a better writer. And honestly, there's no better teacher than just writing and rewriting and working with other people and getting feedback from people that are better than you. Or even if they're not better than you, even just, people that if they don't understand what you're putting down on the page, it means you're not conveying it properly, right? But understanding comics by Scott McCloud, there was a screenwriting book I read. It was by Sid Field. That book was super helpful just in terms of writing in general, because a lot of general writing advice is just universal.
I think starting with Robert McKee is probably the best place for a new writer to start, just understanding story. And then because, you can progress as a writer from there into any of the disciplines. I liked going through Campbell. I thought Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces, The Heroic Cycle, Power of Myth, that kind of stuff, understanding. I came from a comparative literature background, and then I went from that into film and writing for the screen. And then I went from that into comics. So it was an interesting progression. Mo says it was unsettling seeing Vaughn.
I wasn't at a
loss for words for those 5 seconds, like trying to remember the name of the screenwriting book. Yeah.
Which is like the
I have a terrible time remembering titles too. I was going to say the two Eisner books, the red one and the blue one is how I referred to them. I can never remember the titles, but it's the red one and the blue one.
I have that, honestly, and I'm not discounting, I do intend on reading some of that, but I honestly think just writing is some of the best way you could do it, and realize
writing and working with the artist, as long as like you and the artist can understand each other and learning the language of the page, like the visual page itself, writing it. And that's why when you were saying earlier, screenwriting is very structured, right? We have final draft, we have format that we have to obey. Screenplays are done in very specific formats and written a very specific way. And comic books are very free form. You can be Alan Moore writing in, no formatting, all caps,
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Full
Unless
paragraphs of just entire pages. You could do that, or you could, write in a minimalist way, which is the way I studied. I learned from Jim Zub. How he broke down, he broke down a lot of his comic book writing workshops, and I learned from reading like Skull Kickers and his side-by-side scripts. And
he has a YouTube channel, right? I think I've heard.
No, I learned it from him
Patreon.
On his Patreon. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. And he makes his scripts available so that you can literally look at them side by side with the comic, and then he does
he's also like a teacher too, I think.
Yeah, it's he's just a great person to talk to. Anyway, hey, what's up, Jim? If you're watching, And so like there's really no format to it, right? But understanding the page itself as the visual medium and understanding how to convey what you are seeing on the page to the artist, so the artist can translate that into illustration, right? And into the layout that you're imagining for the sake of the pacing on the page. You know, all this is in the chat. He'd tell you the rhythm, right? The beats on the page that you're using, the tempo of the storytelling. All of that stuff is writing for comics the way that we would write time, right? The way that we would write the use of tracking camera, right? The way that we would write the use of the framing in film. We would talk about like a medium 2 shot, right? Like we would talk about how seeing space through time in a screenplay versus seeing space on a page in a comic. What were you going to say?
Aldous had a speaking of Aldous had a question. How many stories has Vaughn published?
Oh, yeah.
So as a comic book creator, as a writer, there was a 10-page short. So I won this writing contest for the Tragedy trade paperback where I got to do this, and this is a case of me translating a screenplay to a comic book.
Yeah, but this is the book.
Yes, but we're also not on screen right now.
Well, good job. I was just gonna say I spilled soda earlier, but yeah, I got the issues right here, man. Like,
yeah, so
good shit.
The trade
Good
paperback.
shit. Yeah,
you got a 10-page short story by me called Land of the Lawless. It was something I came up with in college, and it was a screenplay that I never finished because I felt it needed a rewrite. But it is a story that I wanted to finish. But yeah, that was one. So it's like this futuristic western. Found this hot chick gunslinger who's traveling through the West in this high-tech truck, and she gets assaulted by bandits. It was the opening scene of that film. But is my mic low, or is she just screwing with me?
It's a little low.
Is it low?
I mean, it was a little bit low.
Oh, you know what it is? It's because of the settings from your show. All right, that's why it is.
Mine? My show has settings?
No, not yours.
Size.
Oh, okay.
From Red Valkyrie.
That's what it is. All right, ridiculous. Blaming me of all people. I'm innocent.
I love you, Mo.
Is this good?
Great. Yeah, you're fine, bro. You're fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you sound the same to me, so I will let Sai weigh in the chat as to whether or not they can hear you, but
no.
You sound good to me.
But you were saying, so that first 10-page story and tragedy in the trade paperback, that was your first comic book work that was published?
Yeah, well, as a writer, as an editor, Hunter Ninja Bear, but as a writer, it was yes. And that was a great experience because I mean, obviously there were mistakes I made and there were things, but it was the first time I had to hire artists, realize what communication was like. Okay, we got to design this, and then with my book Phenomenova, I know I was frustrated in how long it took, but it was also like, as I've gone, I'm gracious that it took so long because I was setting up so much, you know, and I didn't want it to come out like, oh, baby's first comic book, you know, oh, good job, buddy, you know. I wanted it to look professional, to come out professional, and I was just looking at some stuff today, and you know, it's great. I paid for, you know, character designs and spent time on it, but my first published work is this Land of Lawless 10-pager, and I think I'm gonna put the 10 pages on my website once I do that, and then if people want it, I'll do the full book. I'll go back and rewrite or write the rest of the story because I have a whole feature-length film that was planned out, and this was the opening scene of it that will be turned into a comic and adjusted accordingly, because I think one problem people have, so even though I came from film to comics, it wasn't just a decision in, you know, I like movies, but I can't do it, so I'm settling for comics. No, I'm in it for I love this medium. You know, there's so many things. When I was translating my my scripts to a comic, I realized there's some things in a screenplay you can't do in a comic, right? But there's some things in a comic you can never do in a film. And it made me appreciate both mediums more because there's just so many exclusives and there's advantages to each. And so I'm in it for comics. You know, I adore this medium, and I don't want it to die. And I think it's no secret that the comic book industry is in a tough spot.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. We've got it.
But I don't want it to be fine. I want it to be killing.
Well, we got to get it to be fun. We got to stabilize before we can have a resurgence and a renaissance. The first thing we got to do is like pull the ripcord on the free fall and kind of like, get our feet back underneath us. But you made a very good point about looking at cinema and seeing the things you can do in cinema that you can't do in comics and comics you can't do in cinema. You're familiar with the term auteur, right? Like a film auteur. I found it is much easier to be an auteur in comics than it is in film. And that's one of the most appealing things for me as a creator is bringing that vision, that authorship to my layouts, to my pacing, my storytelling, all of that. It feels like it's much more of a creation from inside of me. And the art that the artist is bringing to life is that visual spectacular element. But I can be director, I can be cinematographer, I can be writer. And it's so much, it's a smaller, slimmer, sleeker package, a much more compressed staff, right? I don't have to pay for catering. I don't have to work with actors. It's great.
You don't have to worry about the sun's
location scouting, the weather. Forget that.
Location scouting. You got to worry about. Oh my God, the extra's not here today. We gotta. All right, we have to lower the budget. All right, we can't afford cowboy hats. We're gonna just pretend like you just need to put on a Southern. There's all these cheap things you have to do. Or you have to go, the cinematographer wants to do this. Whatever reason. What I like about comics is you have to draw it, but you have to be thorough. You do. To be thorough.
And that's like something like, I always go to Kubrick, right? Because Kubrick is one of those like absolute control freaks who has to have things seen his way, but his films are so distinct visually, right? I think that it's when you look at a comic book that a successful, really practiced and established comic book creator is making, you can see their writing style, you can see their vision, their authorship on the page, no matter who's drawing for them. But of course, some team ups are just like Dustin Nguyen, right?
And Jeff
Lemire, like Lemire, yeah. Dustin Nguyen and Jeff, they're an incredible duo, and when they work on a book together, it's distinct. You had a question.
I read DC because of I read Batman and Robin. I'm not nothing against DC. I'm just not like a big superhero girl. That's not a thing. But I read their Batman and Robin because it was them.
You had a question,
though. I did. Thank you. I had to put it in the chat so you see it.
I don't even see where.
Well, no. I had to put that there was a question.
Sai said this, and that made me realize that you have a question. So I'll just stare at the boobs while you ask the question, if you don't mind.
Okay. Got awkward all of a sudden. Anyway. You were saying how we talked a little bit about how you came from movies to comics, but also that you did some editing work before you wrote your first script. My question was, how did, or if it did, how did working on a comic before in an editor capacity help you or influence you in writing your scripts?
Well, first of all, I found out what an editor was, which was nice.
Because it's not just proofreading. There's so much more that goes into it in comic books.
At least three different
I was
layers.
just told, I basically was just, you're going to read this script and give feedbacks. And then I found out, the job that I just did, that's called an editor. Ooh. And so then I'd start paying more attention to editor pay. So that's what they did. Okay. So it was stuff like that. It was realizing even little things I remember. I thought at one point that comic pages were actually drawn image by image. And I was like, well, so when you get sent pages, do you have to, who edits them together? And my boss is like, what do you mean? I'm like, well,
when you take the film, you edit the film shots together. Who takes this camera and who takes that camera and who bridges the cuts?
So doesn't Bancroft actually do that? He draws each individual panel and then he assembles it together on the page.
It's hard to do that when you do panels that are different sizes and you do progressive panels that have different tempos.
Yeah, I was watching him do his pre-press stuff, and he was putting. I don't know if he does it for every page because I only caught some of the episode. He was actually taking the panels and placing them together on a page.
But Bancroft does visualize his pages differently in layouts than most people. But yeah, that's definitely something that you realize that you have to conceive of the whole page first, right? And you have to conceive of the usage of space first before you can bring that in.
And that was where I would keep studying it and then learning about things like crowdfunding and being, even though I wasn't super involved in Hunter Ninja Bear, but I would learn whatever I could, you know, because I wanted to make something great. And I would, you know, I'd pay attention to, even still when I'm writing, sometimes I'll look at, oh, so like the way things are paced. I'm so, by the way, get physical media. Don't get me wrong, digital. I've read probably most comics I have digital. Because Claremont's whole run would take this whole shelf, but you know, having this on the shelf to just consult when you're writing is just, it's unparalleled. And so I'd often look at how things are paced. Sometimes, really, it is just a case of, it's not an exact science. Like, I could tell you what I learned, but often it comes to you, and sometimes you learn things you didn't even realize you learned.
Yeah. It's not a science, it's art, right?
But
There
I
is a
learned
science
about-
to the art. There are structural things that you're conscious of, but it's not as easy as like, oh, well, you do this. You know, like someone
Yeah.
asked me once, how do you turn a comic book, or how do you turn a movie script into a comic book? What do you do? And I'm like, well, you just do it. Like,
Yeah.
there's no step-by-step guide to doing that. You conceive of the important parts of a story, you distill those
Make mistakes.
significant moments down into time represented in space, and then you panel that out for the tempo of the storytelling. Like, I really don't know how to articulate it. You just kind of do.
You
right?
kind of do it. That was one of the things that was tough. That was you know, I was like, oh, why is it taking so long? I'm like, well, let's see. I'm learning how to write. I'm learning how to work with someone. I'm learning about understanding thumbnails. I'm learning about, and it's like, of course it's taking long, because I'm teaching myself a whole new medium that I actually want to learn. You know, there are the screenwriters that are just, they write, and then it's like, which you can't just write a comic like a screenplay successfully. I'm sorry, you, in my opinion, you can't. You can. If you want to actually maximize the medium, you're not gonna do it that way.
Two things. First, how long did it take you to do Phenomenova, like as a package, from conception of the story as a comic to working with an artist, learning that you don't know things that you need to then go learn? You said, like, why is it taking so long? How long did it take? When did you start?
I was in, when I realized that this needed to be a comic book. God, I must have been like, it was like around the time of Hunter Ninja Bear that I got hired. It must have been when I was a sophomore in college, maybe a junior. Should have been 3.
So like 2 years ago then.
I've been out of college.
That's a joke, Vaughn.
I know, but it's close.
I'm just cracking jokes about your age, man.
No, but it is close. It is close though. Like because the thing, you say it's a joke, but it is fairly close. You know, it wasn't. God, I want to say 3-4 years. I might have been. There's no way it's been that long. It might have. Yeah, I'd say around then.
It's surprising. It's surprising how time flies.
But in terms of, I got my first penciled in cover art for issue 1 a little over a year ago, which is crazy to think about. I was hoping the book would be out by then. That's what I mean when I say especially it's taken so long, is since starting my company, since starting that, I was hoping to have an issue out by the end of the year. But now that I've built things up, now that I've built up more of an audience, now that I'll have something out, my next issue is already in production. So I'm kind of like, as soon as my artist was done with issue 1, I had him get to work on issue 2. So we already have 3 variant covers, or 3 covers ready. 2 of them are variants. And the first 2 pages fully inked. The third one has been thumbnailed and the script is written. So I think I'm going to do 24-page issues going forward, was how I always planned it.
They're quicker. You get them done quicker, and the pacing is faster.
It's the pacing. I honestly wanted to write that way because that's what I, love here. And, I think of Giant Size X #1, where they have this big first issue, or New Mutants started the graphic novel, right? Where I think of it almost the first issue, I wanted to take my time with the origin, because I think a lot of superhero origin comics, there's a reason we go back and have a Batman Year One. We have a Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. I understand when you're doing your first issue, you want to bash that out, get that on the shelves. But there's a reason why when we go to the movies or whatever, we have a longer version of the origin. And I said, well, let's just start with the longer version of the origin. Let's start with that Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. And that was my biggest influence, That's when I came up with the idea.
Gotcha. Now, the second question.
Sorry. I can't help but admire the way that Vaughn speaks in Bendis word balloons.
Mo Biggs, you talk a lot yourself, pal.
He's the best. Mo makes these streams so memorable.
Yes.
I've been remiss. I have not said hello to the chat, so I'm going to back it up a bit because we got quite a few people in here having a good time, jawing it up. We did have Creators Outlet. Will was first. And then, of course, we had the illustrious Mo Biggs. So it was officially a stream. I think a little bit later on, we had Brian Kriskow come and stop by, which is great. Brian Kriskow, Six Gun Gorilla, if you guys don't know.
Oh, I love Brian Kriskow,
yeah. We had Aldous pop in to ask some very intelligent and probing questions. I like to probe. We had Si's with
what?
Mike. We also had Mike Odin.
But he's only
on Facebook,
commenting on Facebook, which
so
is
no one can see
Mo.
him, which is probably the way I like him the best. We also have Ray Ramos, Harry Hardon, author of the Crypto 656 Comics with us.
Awesome.
It's great to see Ray in the chat interacting with people and making sure people remember that he exists and is alive and is doing
he's
stuff.
A super cool dude.
He is. And we have Hojo, speaking of a guy who gets around, puts his name in people's mouths. That is the man right there when it comes to sticking to it. He's been saying some stuff.
He snuck in. We also have Dean.
And we got Dean, Thumbledina,
Down Under.
Comics Mate, or
something.
Yeah.
Oh no, Odin, I can't put that. Mo's gonna kick me.
Where?
He's putting Weebery. He says the Weebery goes unmitigated. He's saying things in the Facebook chat that I will not put on the screen because
snap!
Mo will bring down the entire stream and then we won't get to finish talking about Vaughn's post.
Right, that's true. He's already posted all sorts of words.
There's lots of things that I cannot say or put up for fear of Mo's retribution.
So my second question, I've seen you have 3 different campaigns for this book. One on Fund My Comic, you had one on Indiegogo, you had one on Kickstarter. Indiegogo's still open because it's in demand. Did you know that you can actually take late orders on Kickstarter now?
I did, but I decided
version of in demand, so it's like you could go in demand on Kickstarter.
I didn't end up doing that, but
that's fine. No, you don't need to. It's just a lot of people do the Kickstarter and then move it over to Indiegogo in demand. I like that you did 3 separate campaigns to kind of get people involved in the.
My goal was to pull in as many, and I could have done a better job in Kickstarter with utilizing the algorithm and promoting on.
Well, Kickstarter's tricky. Not a lot of people can crack the code on Kickstarter,
especially if you don't have boobies.
Right, if you don't have boobies on the cover.
On the cover, there's not like
there's a metagame, right? There's a metagame over there, but even without the metagame, it's learning how to be able to be on the platform and visible on the platform to other people. The algorithm itself doesn't actually do as much work as people think. It's how you're driving, because you have to be driving the algorithm, right? You have to be utilizing the algorithm. A lot of people go there and they pop up their campaign and they're like,
that's true.
What do you say?
He said, at least there is an algorithm.
Yes. Indiegogo doesn't have. I don't know what is going on over there. But anyway, like I said, you have 3 campaigns, so a lot of different tiers, right? Is there a tier where I can pick up the book and a copy of your script? Because I want to see how Vaughn Coleman writes this awesome book side by side, the way I learned reading Jim Zub's books.
But for you, especially because you have me on my show, if you want me to just send you a copy,
I'm going to ask you for the script for free. I want to buy that thing. I've bought Don Chin scripts. I've bought Narwhal scripts. When they have the tier that has the script on it, I am always on that script.
All right, that's a good thing. See, again, always learning something. If I had known that that was something people wanted, because I probably would make my scripts prettier.
You know what you could do? You could even do like a physically printed version that you then get, like, people that to do redlining in, like your editor, and you spill coffee on it, and you like have the working copy of the script Bible.
See, but
right?
then
Like
that's not authentic.
Yes, it is, because it's actually the one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean like you pour coffee on it and then send it to me like on purpose. You have the rough copy, the rough working copy. That's actually valuable. That's history.
No, I'm talking about because I normally I have it on a file, right?
Right.
I'm talking about. So there's like parts of the script. Again, I was very much learning the process. My parts of the script where I'll be like very conversational with my artist, and I'm learning to dial that back a bit, but I'll be like, well, we could draw it this way or this way. What are you thinking? And I'm like, no wonder the script took so damn long, because I didn't make up my mind. And now, as my artist and I have better synergy, like I got the first 3 thumbnails and I was like, perfect. Like he got it right away.
Yep. It's the best when you get he takes it out of your head, right?
But it's because
turns it around and shows you what you were thinking. Yeah,
I think it's because we're both better storytellers now. We're both better communicators. I think we had a conversation afterwards where it's like, yeah, we both have grown a lot from this project. I was revisiting my favorite issue because I wrote the first 8 issues. And I was revisiting issue 5 yesterday, and I was like, oh god, I'm scared because I'm like, oh man, because I have this like heavenly view of this script, and then I go, and then it's just the first 3 pages. I'm like, all right, this could all be a splash page. Boom, one splash page. That's 3 pages of information. Like, there, boom, and then it's like,
as long as it's not beladen with text boxes everywhere, and you actually do pull a Bendis, I will hurl your book across the room if you do that to me. Do not make me read a shitload of stuff. Let me get into the art and the visual.
Hold on. Do you like Chris Claremont? Because he does that.
Yeah, but Chris Claremont also earns his text.
Right. I think I have a good balance. I have some I think I have a good. Let's put it this way. I was worried about that. There was one page I had that was a huge monologue, and then I was like, for my artist, draw a splash page, and then I was like, oh my god, is this too much? And then I looked and I was like, oh, that's only a couple of word balloons. It's actually not bad at all.
Yeah, I would say no more than 2 or 3 word balloons per panel. No more than 20 to 20. No. Panel.
Like,
no more than 20 to no more than 20 words per balloon. And if you're gonna do like 6 panels on that page, try not to do 3 word balloons per panel, because there's just going to be too much text everywhere. I'm a fan of silent storytelling.
See, I was told this, and honestly, I got to say, I think, honestly, because I told my letterer, I was like, listen, if there's anything that's too much, and it was like, I looked at it, and I'll just read smooth.
Cut it down. Yep.
I think, there were stuff that I went back, and I was like, all right, this did not need to be a whole paragraph, and then I just made it like 1 sentence. But sometimes
that's the biggest part of writing for comics is write less.
Well, it's just writing in general. Forget for comics. Screenwriting, it's the same rule.
With novel writing, when you're writing
novel writing
prose, you're spitting out as much as you can, because you're trying to make it engrossing, you're supposed to hypnotize your audience with your descriptiveness, right? But with comics, you want to communicate the information.
I didn't read.
What's that?
I said, like when I'd write a book report on a book I didn't read for college.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, lots and lots of words.
It felt really. I'd read like one page and I'd be like, man, this really was impactful. just go in. But no, I mean, I would really make sure that I wasn't cluttering up, especially with the artwork. It's one thing to say this, but more Final Fantasy VII, less Final Fantasy VIII. I've actually never played 8, but I heard it's far inferior. It's my.
I'm gonna get it real quick. I'll go get it, Mo. Keep talking. Say something. Keep this show going.
But yeah, I that was one of the things, is I would look at my artwork, and it does make you a better writer inherently seeing it on the page. Because the first time I saw letters, I was like, for some parts, I was like, for the most part, I was like, that looks great. But there were parts where I'm like, yeah, maybe I could talk less. And so that's one of the good things, because you don't want to cover up that beautiful artwork. You don't. You want to enhance it. And
that's
getting
true.
your words to work in tandem with someone's art really is an amazing thing. And it's been just seeing it come together bit by bit has been amazing. My letter is working on my revisions because he came back with the letters last week and now he's doing the revisions. Oh yeah.
The more Final Fantasy 7. Actually, that looks more like Crisis Core. I mean, it is 7. You know, it's the 7
Because
remake.
it has Zach.
Really.
It has Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm
And
actually.
that's where I know Zach from, is Crisis Core.
It's funny you mention
Something
that.
Vaughn talks too much.
Something Vaughn talks about. Just Comics Made is such a yapper. Honestly, all he does is yap in the chat. That's all he does. That's all he does. You know what? Why don't you write your own comics, Dean James? No, but anyway.
Oh shit! Shots fired. Get rid of Odin. Write your own comics. You know what? Maybe
no, he can't.
is.
He can't.
Maybe
Michael
he is
Odin,
writing his own
Well,
comic.
if he can't read, then
Michael
he probably
Odin's
can't write.
back must hurt. James, so hard.
Oh god damn.
Anyway,
Somebody clip that.
Anyway, what was I saying before I was bullying Dean?
I don't remember, but you know,
who
bullying
cares?
Dean is definitely a memorable thing.
But yeah, I remember. It's funny you mentioned that because we're doing an analysis of the game with Vika and Marion is actually going to be on my stream later tonight, and some other people
nice.
are going to be
Come
talking
by, say
about
hi.
we're going to be talking about the ending of the latest Final Fantasy VII game because it just straight up made no sense. It's one of those endings where like you have to watch explain videos, and it's like, dude, I just wanted to play the game, man. Like, why do I have to watch like 2-hour video essays explaining the basics of your ending? And you won't have to do that when you read my comic. You know, it'll just be in the comic. So, imagine that.
So, do you want to go over some of the things that people can still get on this campaign if they?
No,
they
I'm
wanna
kidding.
back?
Of course. Yeah.
All right. I
No.
mean, like we have the link to the campaign.
No,
I
I
showed
don't want to
Reese's
promote my
cover
comic.
earlier. Like that's it. You know, we don't have to do any more. We could just talk more about I don't know, whatever you want. But you know, I'll put it up just in
Yeah.
case people do feel like they want to go visit this this Indiegogo campaign and pick it up.
Fund
on
my
demand.
comic as
You want
well.
to load the Fund My Comic one?
Yeah, can I share more than one?
No,
I
you can't.
more,
You can't
but
share
can.
more than one. I can share one though.
So
Yes,
Fund
but
My
you are
Comic
already
is
sharing.
the better.
Oh, then I
is
can
the-
just switch tabs.
Yeah. Fund My
Yeah.
Comic is the better one because there is an exclusive free mini print, and I also do get a higher percentage. But if some people prefer Indiegogo, that's a-okay. All the covers are universal across the campaigns. It's just a matter of where you want to back. So on Fund My Comic, there's really just wherever there's 5 covers to choose from. So you've got the main cover,
Right, that
here,
one
which
right
is
there.
$20.
Looks cool.
Now the thing about it is it's not limited to campaigns. You know, you'll be able to get it on my website later. You'll be able to get it at cons.
So it's not an
whatever.
exclusive,
It's
right?
not an but I'm very open about that. That's not an
Yeah.
exclusive because the comic was funded before. You know, this is more of a pre-order, but it's also the people that back do get bonuses and they do get the comic first. So for $20, you get the main cover. Now the variants are all limited. So our first variant cover is done by Sukeisha Ray. You know,
Very distinct. I really like that. It gives me strong Shazam vibes.
yeah. Actually, that's I think someone else said that earlier too. It's really cool. I like that.
The lightning, the glowing eyes, the symbol on the chest. Yeah. So
yeah.
it's a good looking cover.
It was. I just told her to draw whatever, and what she pitched in her head was totally different. And this is again one of those times I'm learning just let the artist take the lead, and often they come up with great things.
I'm touched at the generous way Vaughn gives us permission to back either of his campaigns.
Well, he closed the third one. You're not allowed to touch that one. So tell us about the manga inspired cover right here.
Well, so that's actually Final Fantasy VII homage cover.
Okay, so just Japanese art.
Yeah.
Then.
So it was, you know, I'm a big fan of that game. The new one was coming out. There was already a scene in the script where I do reference the game where he stands before a reactor, like a futuristic reactor. And then as I was at the gym one day, I was thinking, I was like, wait a minute, like the new game's coming out. Why don't I do an homage cover to this? It's a blonde character looking up at a futuristic reactor. Let's do that. Let's do that as a cover. And so Jules had just finished up the trading card art, and I was like, hey, can you do this? Would you be willing to do this? And she was like, sure. She gets this cover out. She comes up with this crazy reactor design. I didn't think, like, she goes above and beyond with this cover and knocks it out of the park. And I was like, wow. And, you know, a lot of people have backed this cover who don't even know the game, who just really like the composition of this cover. And I think it's a great cover. You know, it says a lot. And I like storytelling covers. And I like that each one of these covers says something different. But it all is still the same story.
And this is the Reedy cover.
Yes, this is the highest selling cover. This cover, you know, to no one's surprise, Reenie's cover, it's amazing. I wanted her to do all of it, the colors too, because I had seen her colors, and I was like, yeah, I'll pay extra. I definitely want to see her do it, and they came out beautiful. And this, she gave me great script feedback. You know, we read each other's stuff all the time, and I was like, what do you want to draw for the cover? Like, what's your favorite moment? She goes, has anyone drawn the villain yet? And I was like, nope. And she goes, okay, I'm drawing the villain. Here's my vision. And I was like, perfect. And she went for it. And here we are. I mean, I love it. I wanted the villain to be overpowering him. I was actually at the gym earlier today.
he was there filming, getting some reference videos. Yeah. He was actually not there getting reference videos. He was there.
I was actually there
working out for the
No, I actually wasn't filming myself. I don't need video evidence because the real ones know that I'm telling the truth. But you know, I guess
the real ones that watch the OnlyFans.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so if this comic book career fails, I do have my backup.
Right.
My own,
which is both, you know, multi-purpose. You're as a cosplayer, right? You've got, you know, your own line of video productions, right? You star in your own videos. Yeah, Tell me about this cover.
All inclusive.
Who's Shredder in the background there?
Shredder.
It looks like Shredder, kind of, with his head.
Oh, he's not wearing his glasses.
Yeah, is that him?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I can't see. He's like this big.
I guess
there's a dude with a bandana on.
I never thought of So these characters. So if you'll be able to scroll down and see them, but my comic Phenomenova set 20 years after World War III, and these were the heroes called Crusader Corps that fought.
When does World War III happen?
20 years before the story begins.
No, but
I know what you're asking. I'm not answering you.
Well done. So 20XX is what you're telling me.
Yeah. Don't worry about it, man.
Like Mega Man. Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It occurs when it occurs. You know what I mean? It's because that's the thing. I thought about it and I was like, how important, like I have a general idea, I even have a date written down, but it's like, to me, that wasn't as important.
You're writing cape stuff, right? You're writing a superhero story. It's not as important.
It's not important.
If you're writing science fiction and you're writing something like hard science fiction, it's extremely important because people want to understand chronology. People want to understand technological advancement. People want to put things on a timeline. They want to understand spans and eons and stuff. So yes, but for like fantasy or heroic fiction, which is what you're writing, heroic fiction, nobody cares about the date. 20 years after World War III. That could be tomorrow. That could be 300 years.
I hope it's not tomorrow. God.
I mean, bro, it's getting bad out there. It's getting. I'll say, you know, maybe
so
come
fast you can't even spell my name right
December or January, we'll know, right?
Dude, he's typing so fast. He's accusing me of yapping. He's typing so fast he can't even. What is that? Vaughn? Come on, man, relax. You can take the time to spell my name. Anyway,
used to be Crackback.
That's why they originally called him Rockman. Oh, that's why I like him so much.
Oh, that makes sense.
So this cover was done by Buzz, with colors by Dash Martin. And
who's Buzz? I don't know if I know Buzz.
Buzz, he did Vengeance of Vampirella in the 90s.
Gotcha.
And
don't know.
It's a cool cover though.
Yeah, it's a great cover. It doesn't matter what your name is. It does. Actually.
Yo, that's perfect because that's a quote from The Rock, Mo, with the fucking meta reference there.
Mo is the
internet. Good.
Mo knows all.
Because we were just talking about.
I know.
That was very well done. That was very well done.
He ties it all together. He always does.
All nice little bow.
Yeah.
All right, so you've got the covers. What other tiers are we looking at here? Is there another cover? You said you had
there
5,
isn't,
right?
But if you look at this, so
that's
this
the
mini
print.
This is this double page spread. Everyone loved this art so much that I said if we hit 15K, no matter what platform you back, because it's cumulative, if we hit 15K across all platforms, everyone gets this as a mini print. And we hit that goal. We surpassed that goal. So everyone is going to get this as a mini print.
What size?
6x9.
Okay. All right.
So you don't have to
So
fold it.
A5, an A5 size.
Yeah. That's so there we go. There's that one. And then so that's the superhero team and the other double page spread below it.
Nice. Give us a little bit more. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, see that's them.
I like the dude on the right, man. I'm a sucker for like stars and bars.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I think it's just dope, man. I like the energy from the costumes. Like I liked, Captain America, anything with that star and bar, right? Like even, like US Assassin with the ninja outfit with it's great. I like that. I like his bandana. So who's Hawkman in that team up there?
So that is Golden Gallant. So if we hit 20K, which we're at 16K, everyone will get.
You're gonna make a Golden Gallant figure.
Trading card.
Figure.
Oh shit! All right, trading card. Yeah, dude, figure. You want to see? We got figures. You could do a figure. We got Judex here in all of his glory.
I had a budgeted for that. I'd love to do it one day, but not this campaign.
I think you've got a great IP that is well suited to have figures. Like all of these characters are very distinct and they look really neat. So I think that you would excel at having articulated figures. You'd probably make a lot of money doing that.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I'm in total agreement. And these characters, the ones that fought during World War III, you only see a snapshot of them and just a few hints of them throughout this book because it's really about the next generation. But those characters, I do want to do a prequel story with, set during World War III.
Mo really likes the dragon, the fiery dragon. That's gorgeous. It is gorgeous.
It's not a dragon, but it
looks like a dragon to me.
Oh yeah, it does. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah,
it's Hawkman going to fight the dragon.
I like it.
Right?
I like it. It's
but that is a gorgeous image, really well colored, very nicely done. It's the type of image that's very striking. So, he gave you a compliment. He gave you a hard time the whole show because that's what he does, but he also paid you a compliment.
I know. I'm just throwing it back.
Tough,
no, it's good. I love. No, I know. Just throwing it back. This one is.
So, how much of this character is a self-insert?
How much of him? That you want a percentage?
Yeah.
I don't know how to quantify that because I don't know
how much of yourself do you see. Like, are there characteristics? This is a cheap question because of course there are characteristics of yourself in your character. There should be in every character you write because you need to know
you want your characters.
You can only know what you know, right? So you need to know the character to write him. So knowing parts of yourself, but how much of this character is a self-insert? Is this wish fulfillment? Is this
I wouldn't say so because my character
and addressing younger you going, this is what you needed to learn in order to become a hero? Like what's going on here? Because everyone I've spoken to comments about how strikingly similar this character and you are.
Oh yeah? Who's yapping?
Bro, like I could give you names and I will in the back, but it'll take us the rest of the show for me to rattle them off.
Well, they probably all back my book anyway.
He doesn't know that many people.
Dude, I know like 5 people.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure.
No, you've had quite a successful campaign.
It was shocking that someone
answer the question.
No, I am. You're the one that keeps talking. Roll
I'm
back the footage. He's like talking and waiting for him to finish. He's like, "Why aren't you talking yet?" Because I'm polite.
Okay. All right.
This is the back cover, by the way, no matter what front cover you get. But okay, so I would say, all right, so he was definitely like inspired by me because initially I came with an idea for a movie. I was going to play the character, and I decided to pull from my real life. And I actually felt the more I pulled from like my personal background, the better the story became. But I knew he couldn't be one-to-one because A, it was being less fun. The escapism was getting removed.
and it couldn't be restrictive, but needed to inform the story, but it couldn't control the story. And so I would actually get excited when I get to points in the script my character would do something and be like, wait a minute, would I do that? No. I'd be like, oh, so what does it say about him that he would do this and I wouldn't do it? So it's a couple of things. It's yelling at the younger self a little bit, but it's mostly, in all honesty, just using a character based on me tell a story really that only I could tell and send that character on a hero's journey. I wanted
When you
the
say
character.
a character only you could, or a story only you could tell, what do you mean? Because that's a fascinating thing to say.
Well, okay. So I mean, I guess we're on this. So I dug down and I was like, why do superheroes mean so much to me? And I was like, remove all the answers everyone else gives, because those are all valid answers. But let's go back. And I realized like part of why I love superheroes so much is because of the place I was in when I first discovered them. So, I lost my dad when I was a little kid, 9/11. And I felt like I really needed heroes in my life. I needed a male figure to look up to. I needed a father figure. And then I started seeing that in superheroes. And they would take their personal tragedies and use it not as an excuse. Villains would take those things and make it as an excuse to do wrong. Heroes would take that and say, I'm going to make sure no one else suffers like this. I'm going to use this for good. And I was like, and that's what they meant to me. And superheroes are the pursuit of being a better person. And that's what it was about. And so I said, all right, well, if I'm going to pull from that, will the story be better? And so I decided to base that character after my dad and really pull from that and incorporate my background with my father into the character. And I felt it deepened the story and made the themes richer. And it was really a story that only I could tell. So yeah.
Oh my God.
He's
Demolished.
laughing at.
I'm just laughing at the chat. Dean is just going off while you explain something that's actually making a lot of sense to me and that resonates really well. It tells me that you actually may know how to tell a superhero story. So like you're actually proving credibility here on stream, and Dean is just viciously eviscerating you in chat.
No, he's not. He's just yapping. He knows how great I am.
Whoa! Oh snap! It's Juanito.
Oh, Juanito. So he was one of my character designers.
You're still alive. Juanito is now like a rock star or something.
He's actually one of the guys here. So he designed 4 of those characters for me that you saw in that double page spread.
There he is in the lower right hand. No, that's not him in the lower right hand. It is us. It is.
That is Juanito without his hat.
Holy shit! Yeah, I mean, I knew like the black and white emo kid had to be right. Like it has to be him.
So he designed 4 of those characters.
Yeah, where has he been? Really, I haven't seen him forever.
He's really like doing music and stuff. I don't know if he's still doing comics. I'm assuming, but
he's working. Yeah, doing comics. That's probably the case. I know I disappear for quite some time when it's working.
Mm-hmm.
So, you said that it's you took your own personal tragedy and for a superhero that's taking your tragedy and becoming a better person. As a villain, it's using it as an excuse to be a worse person. What personal tragedy are we talking about? And I think I know, but I want you to say it on stream.
Well, I just said it. I mean, I could say it again, but I mean, I lost my dad in 9/11. Is what my personal tragedy was.
And it's really easy to be mad about that, I'd imagine. It'd be really easy to blame people for that and to become hateful and become hardened. So how did you not do that? And what in Phenomenova, in this character, do you see? How does he embody that decision to become a better person out of tragedy?
I changed the situation for my own life, right? Like I made it was a clean cut suicide bomber, and I wanted it to be different from my own, because my own thing, I spent my whole childhood, knowing the people out there, still out there, like they still, even just today, tried giving them a plea bargain, right? 3 of the people. So like my situation is different. I wanted his situation in a way to almost be better than mine. So that way he could move on into fun superhero stuff and not have a vengeance story. That was, I could save those for later, but I didn't want him to be motivated to become a superhero and be seeking vengeance and tracking down. That wasn't what it was about, moving past it. And so that was, again, one of those things where, yes, it's inspired by me, but I curtail it to fix the story and all that. But in terms of how it translates into this, I would say it's learning how to channel that anger, to channel those emotions. He now wants to make the world a better place, and he doesn't have a father to guide him. You know, his dad was a war hero in the timeline. You know, it was 20 years earlier. His dad fought in the war, and now he doesn't have. He wants to be a superhero, and he doesn't have someone to tell him, "Nope, you can't just run into action. There are things you have to do. You have to make sure you're ready." And now he has to learn. He has to have someone smack him around. And so by the end of this issue, he will be mentored by one of the superheroes that fought during World War III. And eventually that will lead him to become part of a team called Phenomenova. That's the name of the team he'll be joining later, which will become the next generation superheroes. It's like if they're the Justice League, these new guys are like the Teen Titans, right? So they will kind of be doing this. But yeah.
Mo asks, does rewriting the moment yourself make it feel like an inside job? Yikes.
I was ignoring that comment. Sorry, Mo.
Yes.
So you simplified the tragedy. You made it clean cut for your hero. Why take the complicated element out of it? I know you said you didn't want him to be on like a path for revenge and everything, but ambiguity in the villainy, right, of a tragic backstory can often serve to make the character more interesting. Don't you think?
What do you mean?
Why distill it the way that you did?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand what do you mean by that?
You said that you didn't have the tragedy that your character went through be complicated.
Yeah,
the way that yours was.
Because
you had it just be a suicide bomber.
Because
yeah, so you're trying to.
I'm telling
not a real life story. You're telling heroic
a conspiracy
fiction.
plot line. I'm not telling a war plot line. I'm not telling a revenge plot line. That's not. This is the character's backstory, so we can get to a superhero story. That's what it is. So the intention was that it wasn't.
So the intention is to put the tragic element into it, but to not have that be paramount. Let's put it this way:
don't we spend the whole first Spider-Man movie going after Uncle Ben's killer? Why do we resolve
because
that?
Because that wasn't the point of it wasn't the point of Spider-Man. You needed to see the origin, but it was the lesson that he learned from Uncle Ben in Uncle Ben's death. It wasn't, chasing the guy down. And also, like, didn't he find the guy? Like, he just kind of got him, right?
Yeah, in the first issue,
yeah. So
it's a superhero origin story, is what it is.
Right. So it's not like a situation where you wanted to like put an end cap on it. You wanted to make closure for this character, at least tie up the loose ends. I gotcha. Okay.
It was meant to
rather than having the villain still be out there and deal with the shit you're going through. You wanted this character to have his origin story and then have a future that is decided by the shit that he encounters and the supervillains that he fights and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted it to move past it where it's intrinsic to the character. It was intrinsic to the character is what I was thinking, but I didn't want it to be about that because my whole thing is, and I always say this, in an age of deconstruction, this is a reconstruction and a reconstitution of the superhero genre, right? I'm not trying to do. That's okay. I'm not trying.
Yeah, that may have been misconstrued.
Yeah, that's what I was like,
oh shit.
No, I assume not, but I was like, wow. No, I was
uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, that timing is all. No, but yeah. The I think I was saying that it was like my point was I want to get to this issue is mostly fun. You know, there
Let's
was
play the trailer.
upsetting in the beginning, but it's meant to be fun, and that's not to say there won't be sad moments throughout, but like I want comics to be fun again. You know, there was one of my drafts where he was just so down in the dumps the whole time, and I was like, my kid self would have hated that. And I'm like,
reading it, it's too depressing.
I'm like, this is edgelord crap. Like, I want to have fun. It's a superhero story. Like, what am I doing?
At least the awareness of that.
Well, because how much shit do you read where it's like, because there's the kind of, and I get why self-inserts often get bad rap, because it's like, a lot of it is just an excuse to bitch about your problems. I'm using it as a stepping stone to tell a better story, right? To enrich my story's themes that were already there, make it a better character. These people, it's like, they'll be like, and I'm valid because this character says so. It's like, no, my character's an idiot.
My lived experience is in this character. Yeah, but no, you didn't do that.
My character is an idiot who thinks he could rush into a reactor to stop a heist because he got his powers like 2 days ago. You think that's going to go well? He does because he's a teenager, right? And
he's already stealing his name, Crazy Mad. Come on. If you start wearing fingerless gloves, then then the similarities would be too undeniable.
What is the functional advantage of fingerless gloves?
I don't think there is. I mean, I don't think there is
a fashion
one.
statement.
They're pretty much a fashion statement. Okay.
Yeah. Gambit. Well, Gambit has like
he has like two. His are also just a fashion statement, in my opinion.
Dude,
although I could see why. I could see why with the cards. I don't know if he would charge up the glove accidentally, right? So he needs two fingers that aren't gloved.
Yes.
But then, but why wear gloves at all then?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Why cut the fingers off your fucking gloves?
But only two of them.
Cold.
Right. Only two of those fingers. You want to keep the other ones warm,
New
right?
Orleans. It's very cold there.
Yeah, and why not the index and middle finger? Because you figured, like, if you throw a card, you're throwing it with, like, the index, middle finger, and thumb. You'd have those three, not like the middle and the ring finger. Whatever. All right, we're getting way off topic.
Gloves are the assless chaps of the hand.
Gosh,
that's a good one.
He's full of them tonight, man. Like these need to be engraved, right, on something and preserved, right? Mo Biggs need to be recorded for.
Now I know what to get you for Christmas.
Oh, a plaque. Yeah, thanks. That's great.
With the best of Mo Biggs.
All right, we've talked about writing. We've talked about the origin of the character. We've talked about how you crafted your story, worked with your artist. What haven't we talked about that you'd like to address?
Man. What can I do to get your stream canceled? No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
I mean,
controversial issues.
we just came back from vacation. I'll be happy to go back on hiatus.
Yeah, I know. It's getting back into the flow of things, right? God, I'd say it's the book is pretty much done. Oh, I don't know if you saw at the bottom, but there is a trading card that everyone unlocked. I was just talking to the artist for it today.
That's this one down here. Hold on.
Oh, we should play the trailer. We were told that we should play the trailer. That was another.
It's the fan art contest winner. If we got 300 backers, which we're 302, everyone gets that. It's colored.
Nice.
It's getting.
Dude, that's a good. It's a really I can't stress this enough, guys. 302 backers with 15K raised on a first timers book in this crowdfunding economy.
This economy
is an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be understated. If we're looking at the totals, I've been telling people for the past year and a half about the downward trend in crowdfunding, about the lack of enthusiasm, about how things are going to get cold out there, right? But the fact that you were able to pop this off like a little ray of sunshine in the dark cloud that is hanging over crowdfunding, I think is impressive, and it does need to be acknowledged.
Yeah. No,
I said something nice about you. Don't get a big head.
Okay.
Play the trailer.
I have to scroll back up.
Well, just hit home.
No.
Okay, fine. Just do that then. Make sure you include the sound, right?
It is shared with sound.
All right, cool. We're going to check this trailer out, guys. Be right back.
When the whole world was dragged into World War III, brave men like my father fought on the front lines. And they weren't alone. That was 20 years ago. Now it's up to us to carry on their legacy. And every so often, the earth from which we come gives way for something new, something greater to be born. And with them, even greater threats to face. Bring it on! Phenomenova. For you, Dad. For you.
Gripping, poignant, emotional. I mean, that was a pretty powerful trailer, right? That says a lot about the book. It really gives you a taste of, I think, what's inside. I mean, I gotta know. I gotta get this book now, guys.
Yeah, that
after
was the
talking
goal.
to Vaughn, after talking to you, after looking at the trailer, after our conversation, yeah, I think I'm gonna back this one, boys.
Thank you. Yeah, it's almost done. I'm hoping. Now, here's the thing: I've heard printers can be quite annoying. I'm hoping to have it sent. I was just actually before this, I had to put down my phone. I was going through the credits pages and all of that. It should be ready to be sent to the printer, or at least start talking to the printer. Hopefully next week is my plan. Maybe even this week.
Holy crap! Really? Nice.
Well, 65 pages are done. We're just getting the lettering revised. So yeah, we're just getting there. Yeah. We have the issue 2 covers are pretty much done.
Do you know who you're printing with? I mean, obviously, you know who you're printing with.
Yeah. I mean, some final details need to be done, but I think I know who someone's printing with.
Cover finishes, total book order, that kind of thing. But you know who you're going with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Book order, which I'm hoping to print at least 100 of each cover, which seems doable at this point. Rainey's cover, I will have to print more than 100, so which is nice.
How many total units are you going with?
I have
including all the cover. I include everything together.
I want
because plate change fees aren't really a thing anymore.
Well, I'm selling at least I'm printing at least 1,000 copies total. Now I've sold like 570, and like I promised, the variant covers are all limited. So
why 570 is great. Why limit yourself to 1,000 copies, Vaughn?
I said at least 1,000.
Okay, all right, at least. Can we do like 3?
You think
3,000?
I'll check in with those numbers.
2,000 sounds like a good number. I think push yourself to 3 because then you have to get rid of them. You know what I mean? Like it's sitting there and you're like, oh, I could get 2,000 more books to sell, because I could see you getting out there and actually hitting conventions.
I think, yeah, well, I plan
on website and yeah, I mean, I know you're a lot of the photos that I've seen of you have been at conventions with people.
And having you at a convention,
and having you table, with this book, I think be pretty badass. So
yeah,
try and get your unit price down so you can get your cover price down. I know it's probably a little bit more considering you're gonna go for another 1,000 units, but you made almost 20 grand, right?
Yeah. I'm close to. I'm 16K. So,
but like you're not doing this for the money. I'm sure you paid the artist. I'm sure you had the other expenses to cover, but this isn't how you're making money. You have a job. You have something else going on. I'm sure you have alternative revenue streams. You are not a former comic pro that relies upon YouTube streaming and crowdfunding comic book campaigns to pay their mortgage.
I'm figuring it out.
Okay. All right. You want to make this a full-time gig?
Yes. Yeah.
Ambitious. All right.
That's
You
my
know,
goal.
there's no money in comics, right?
I'm aware.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. Tell that to Todd McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane doesn't make his money in comics.
I
He
know
makes
he
it
makes
in
it in
toys and
merchandising. I
movies
know.
and
I
licensing
know.
and merchandising and all of that shit. And it took him 20 years to
I
build
know.
a brand
I know
that
the
was
story.
Young though.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
only
he is
25.
young. Maybe he'll get it done by World War III.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think though that you're off to a good start. Yeah. I don't think that you need to worry about making money on this yet. I think you need to worry
No,
about
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Even Vaughn didn't jump on the shitting on. Well, who jumped on shitting on super chats?
Me.
That was enough.
I always jump on shitting on super chats.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. My goal is to expand the brand right now. I'm more focused on that. I'd love to do
build your library.
But no,
build your content.
as soon as I got my money, I put it into issue 2. Whatever I
Good.
can make.
Yep.
If I decide I want to make any money off this campaign for myself, that's something I'll decide. But my current plan has always been, this is all right back into the business. I do want to make this a full-time eventually, but that's my plan.
Question. I was going to say I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier before we started the stream, but for tax purposes, put it all back into the book because then it's a write-off.
Yeah.
Don't take anything out and pay yourself because then you are paying tax and business tax since you're your own employee. Use your LLC to protect your investment. It's just, you raised all that money. That money is invested in your brand. Okay, I'll be quiet. In fact, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up unless there's something else you want to say to the studio audience watching at home or those brave souls that are still with us in the chat.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. All right.
You forgot to ask your final question. Do you have any advice?
Oh yeah. As a first time creator,
what is she's carrying you? What are you doing?
She is,
man?
dude. She carries me quite a lot, quite a lot in our business endeavors.
I'm not quite up to Mel B level, but
Yeah, but you might as well be doing all the work, right? Mowing the grass and all that shit. But as a first timer, having met with the success that you did, what did you learn crowdfunding this first time that you think other creators need to know? What lessons can you share?
Get on tons of shows. Don't put your entire model for success onto someone else. Don't rely on any one person to promote you. Promote yourself. Help other people. Be kind to other people because it will be. If it's not reciprocated, don't cry about it. Move on. But try and Networking is like everything. Sell it with a passion, sell it with clarity, make sure people know what your comic's about, make sure you're able to answer questions, and if you don't have an answer, try and find one. Networking is everything. Going to conventions is also a really good thing, even if it's just to hang out, dude. Like, I've gotten great connections and even jobs from hanging out with someone at a bar. I saw that.
Kind to other people. That's what I always try to teach bikes.
Right. I mean, they have to be people, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Just don't put all your eggs in someone else's basket. If you're gonna be an independent, be an independent. Don't be. If you're like, oh no, if this person doesn't promote me, I'm screwed. Obviously, with your launch, I will say, if you don't have a big channel, like I hosted one of my own launches, don't do that. If you don't have a big channel, I should have planned my Kickstarter launch better. Like, absolutely. I'm still made money, but I would have.
I love when they're self-aware.
Yeah.
Like, don't do the thing that mistake. That was a mistake. I love that.
Dude, if I could do a top 10 list.
Yeah.
Well, if I could I think I'm probably going to do a video or a stream going dumbest things I did during my campaign. I'll be like, all right, let's messing up the mailing list. Not clearly understanding what Luke Stone very explicitly told me about his website, and I just misheard it multiple times. Don't.
Because he was playing Final Fantasy VII while he was
No, it's
talking
not
to you.
it's because I was just like, "Duh," like I thought it went one way, and then he was like, no, the codes on the site don't work that way. I told you this. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
you
you
were
were
at least,
15
yeah,
SFW variant covered short.
that's true. Well, for my all ages book, yeah, I think that was a good business call to avoid that.
Yes.
Personally. But yeah, no, Kickstarter. I noticed that. I'm like, oh my god, that's
Yeah,
like
your main
Yeah.
character doesn't really lend themselves to the.
that
type
was
of-
my whole problem. He doesn't have a superhero costume either, and that was part of my concern. Is I'm basically selling a kid in a regular everyday attire and saying, hey, buy this. Oh, by the way, here's some cool characters from 20 years ago with cool costumes.
Yeah, and you
Like
can't make that
You get them.
NSFW.
You get them in one double page spread, but then the promise of them possibly later, maybe some of them might have died during the war. You don't know.
You don't
And I
know.
still
You
sold,
never
and I
know.
still sold over almost 600 copies. So, haha, it's all about it. Good. Here's the thing: people can tell you because people will be like, "Oh, I have to do a booby book, or I'm not going to make money." I just did it. You can do it. You just have to understand you're going to work harder.
Right.
But if you have a dream, you gotta sell it with a passion, man. You gotta show passion.
Agreed. It's funny, we were talking about that at one of the conventions. There was one of the first ones we were at. The first day, Neff was like not feeling great. He was tired, and so like our energy was kind of down, and it wasn't a great day. And then the next day, he just like,
All right, I'll sell
all
the
right,
book.
and he like turned on. Do you know what I mean? Like he like went into Neff mode.
Well, that's
and,
the
like,
other thing
brought
that
up the
people don't-
energy and kind of started interacting with people. And like from then on, it's just been it was a great day and so on. But
And-
like you said, you have to be passionate about it.
I don't know if
Part of
people
it.
know this about me. Yes, I did have I do have a writing background. Yes, I do have a screenwriting background. I've worked in, screenwriting and entertainment, but I did major in comparative literature, which means that I went into retail after college, right? I had one of those degrees where it's like, well, either you're going to go to grad school and study literature or screenwriting, or you're going to get a fucking job serving coffee. But I went
Yours
into
was selling jeans.
I went into retail and I got really fucking good. And I worked my way up to become manager, like a manager of the stores. And I learned a whole lot of strategies and tactics dealing with customers and attracting customers to products. So having a retail background and selling a comic, they go hand in hand. So, you can sell your book by having that charisma. I think that what happened to your...
I don't know. My computer is spazzing out. I am obviously on this. I'm trying to type to Mo and it's trying to close my tabs, but I'm...
All right, that's the signal, guys. Technology is starting to tell us that we should end the
Mo,
stream.
I can't type now. My computer is I don't know, rebelling. It's tired. It wants to go to sleep.
And so do I. So thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Really appreciate you staying with us. Yes. Go check out Phenomenova. I think it's a really interesting book. Really cool. Very successful young creator, ambitious, hungry. He's getting out there and he's going to, keep making these books. He's got a long-term plan. So I'm interested to see what he brings to the table. I'm going to be picking up this book. If you like the content, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps us out in the algorithm. I don't know how, but they tell me to say that. Click the bell for notifications to know when we go live next.
And tune into the frequency.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.